Who's ready for some fun? Who's ready for some fun? Who is ready for some fun tonight? We might even have our entire golf panel back this evening, even if for a little bit. So we should be ready to go. Quite a tournament to discuss. Quite a lot of wild and crazy and tragic circumstances to cover as well. So let's not waste any time. Let's do the thing here, everybody. Good to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk some golf. I always appreciate the round of applause at the beginning of every one of these shows. Good to have you with us, everybody. Welcome to the Sandwich Corner. This is our companion podcast that we do between all of our Sandwich Show streams over on Twitch. My name is Dave Medina. You know me as Davey's Eating a Sandwich on all the various platforms. It's nice to have you back here in the mix with us. And we've been covering sports a lot in the last month or so. And tonight, we're going to cover golf. We have some really cool people joining us this evening. Mike in North Jersey. He's a little under the weather, so we won't be having him for a whole lot for the entirety of the show. We're also hoping to be joined by John in Connecticut and Andy in Seattle, our pals who've been covering golf for the better part of, at this point, I think it's been about a dozen years, at least, maybe longer. What a wild run this has been for everybody, for all of us. So thank you very much for joining us. This is my birthday week. I'm going to have a birthday stream on Twitch on Friday. For the moment, I'm scheduling it for 5 o'clock Eastern. We're going to run all the way through to the end of the night. So I hope you can be there. We're doing lots of stuff, karaoke and golf. So check it out, twitch.tv/Davies Eating a Sandwich. But meanwhile, let's get to the task at hand, the subject of golf. And it should be a good time. I mean, I think it's a very interesting time for golf. And we've continued to see the effects of the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour trying to coexist with one another, and seeing that someone from LIV was really close to winning the PGA. This is a very strange angle to start with, but still, like Bryson DeChambeau was actually playing really well to start the tournament. He was right there, but instead the championship goes to someone who had been much maligned in these big spots. And many of us have talked about how he'd always come up short in a big tournament. Xander Schauffele, an incredibly talented golfer, one of the most amazing golfers of the current generation, finally gets his major and wins the PGA Championship from Valhalla in Louisville, Kentucky. Really awesome stuff. Weekend in total was just wild. It's I don't want to take too much time setting that up. I think Mike will do a good job of that with us, and let's just bring everybody who we have at the moment. Just give me a second here to wait for everybody to pop on in. But yeah, let's just start with our good friend Mike in North Jersey. Mike, it's nice to have you back. Hope you're hanging in there. How's it going tonight?
Well, Dave, I've definitely felt better than I do today. I come down with a bit of a cold, which I guess is fortunate timing because I guess I'll be over it by the time the weekend rolls around. So. Mm-hmm. Not the best situation to be in, but I will. I'll take the W. In terms of meaning this, I'll probably be okay for the weekend. Of course, you can probably tell it sounds like I have like a clothes hanger around my nose, and that's sort of what it feels like right now. But I'll do my best to battle through that and try to enunciate things well, so I don't sound like I inhaled a balloon of helium.
No problem, Mike. No problem at all. It is really good to have you back. And it's also really good to have Andy back. We haven't had Andy back in a minute. Mandy, welcome back to the show. How's it going tonight?
Yeah, good to be alive. Hope everyone's well. Mike, I don't know if you got a cold or allergies. I came in late, but some people don't think allergies exist, but I can attest they are alive and real. So yeah, don't let that immune system fool you. It's a real thing. But yeah, good to be on. Actually, have time to get on the podcast. No longer at the job that destroyed my life for a little bit, and should have time to partake in podcasts and call Mad Dog and
Yes.
watch sport again, and get to work 8 to 4:30 again. So
Oh man,
good to be around. Yeah,
that's
some
awesome.
people would say I'm not a horseman because I don't like the 11-hour work days, but I don't know. There's more to life than work, 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 soak, soak, soak.
Yeah. I remember the last text you sent before you essentially went on a hiatus from the podcast was like, yeah, SP had to, I can see, something like SP was right. Like this is something like that was just, I felt so bad for you that night. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you're out of that though. That sounded rough. That really did, Andy.
Yeah, not to get, it was, I mean, it was a great opportunity, and obviously, like, in a backward way, it created another good opportunity with more normal hours again. But yeah, had 3 different bosses. The first boss was working longer days than me, and she was just so burnt out, and she would work from like quarter to 7 a.m. to like 7:30 p.m. It's like this is stupid. For what? Just to be told soak some more? No. So yeah, we're back. We are back in a spot where we can watch golf at work and just kind of horse around. Sorry, LT. Life's not all about work. You need to have balance.
Yeah, I love that. What a good weekend to do that too. Like this tournament was juicy from the beginning to the end. Like it was a really, really fun tournament. It just never let up. Like it was tight. It was a lot of great action. Saturday had some great shots. I mean, Thursday had some great shots. I mean, Xander started off really hot, and then it just kind of kept going. And John hopefully will join us in just a little bit, but it is really great to have the crew back together. Mike, let me go back to you for a second. I don't know at what point we're going to address the police encounter with Scheffler, but I'd really prefer to do it sooner rather than later because, like, I don't want to make a little podcast about that. Like, it was just a strange setup. Scheffler didn't seem to have it phase him until Saturday, so he did all right on Friday, like the day that all that happened. I mean, he was in jail for some of that. It was just a weird spot. I think I want to get into that first before we get into all the other stuff with Xander and the rest of the tournament because it's just strange. It's something we've never really seen before with a golf tournament. A shuttle bus tragically hit a volunteer worker early in the morning on Friday. But Scheffler, unaware of the situation, was trying to get to his tee time, and the cops. And depending on who you talk to, the version of the story that you hear is going to be different. But there is clearly a misunderstanding between the two parties as to what was going on. And Scottie Scheffler was arrested. He was taken to jail momentarily. He was bailed out, and then he went on to play his round anyway. Just a crazy situation, Mike. So if I can go to you first, just to address that, just kind of, address the elephant in the room. Like, what a bizarre situation. I'd love to get your thoughts on it and your takeaways from what happened there. And we still don't even know like how much the police protocol was handled correctly. That's still to be determined. There's going to be an arraignment. There's just so much shit going on with this. It's just crazy. But Mike, your thoughts first on the whole Scottie Scheffler situation.
Well, it does make sense to start here because, unfortunately for Xander Schauffele, perhaps a little bit unfairly, look, we've had major championship golf for over 100 years. We've had 400 different people win major championships, and we've had close major championships that have come down to the last hole, and we've had guys that have been knocking on the door for a while that couldn't break through. Now, that's what we saw. But we have never seen a golfer, let alone the number one player in the world and the overwhelming pre-tournament favorite at odds that we haven't seen since Tiger Woods, arrested on his way to the golf course. So you did a good job sort of laying out what happened there.
Thank you.
Like you said, very sadly, there was a struck by a shuttle bus and killed. Now, honestly, the police should be investigating that. What the hell is a shuttle bus doing going so fast before sunrise, pulling into the damn golf course that someone gets killed? So, but putting that aside, so what happens is apparently the road is shut down because they're doing the investigation. and there's additional police presence. This particular officer, who kind of looks like exactly what you would expect him to look like if you haven't Googled him yet, is on traffic detail, and he happens to be a detective. Now, I would surmise that if you're a detective, you're not entirely thrilled with handling traffic duty pre-dawn in the pouring rain. Now, the officers and the security people that had been handling traffic detail had apparently been told, look, let the players in. They're all driving like X kind of car. It has a special license plate. They'll have a special badge. This guy either wasn't aware, didn't care, but Scheffler went to drive around, and this is where it diverges a little bit. You have the official police report basically say that the officer calmly responded, knocked on the window, and that Scheffler just flat out refused to listen to him, sped off, and dragged him along with him. But then you have Bob with shoes in, and I forget the guy's first name, Darlington at ESPN, who were there and witnessed it, and said that the cop just ran up to the car, started pounding on the window, screaming, cursing, blah, 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 and that Scheffler didn't know what was going on. So he's like, well, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. I'm going through. And that he chased after him and fell down, more or less. So somehow, well, I shouldn't say somehow, unfortunately, in my admittedly short career, in law thus far, this seems to be a pretty common occurrence where the police will end up escalating something that didn't need to be escalated. They sort of initiate some sort of physical contact with someone, and then you see a charge of assaulting a police officer. Now, I actually have the statute here in front of me, and we'll go over it. Interestingly, a lot of states will have separate statutes for assaulting a police officer. Now, even though he was charged with that, there doesn't appear to be one in Kentucky. So my guess is, I think in New Jersey, if you do it, it bumps up the degree a full one. So he got charged with assault in the second degree. So here's the statute. A person is guilty of assault in the second degree when he intentionally causes serious physical injury to another person, or he intentionally causes physical injury to another person by means of a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument, or wantonly causes serious physical injury to another person by means of a deadly weapon or dangerous incident. You can't convict him of that. It'll get, in fact, if it went to trial, which it won't, that charge will definitely get dropped. If it went to trial, you would just move for a directed verdict and the judge would enter it, because under these facts, you can't. Well, I mean, I guess in a way you could just say, I believe everything the cop said, and then, but in this circumstance with such a high profile guy, I don't think that will happen. But I'm very surprised here, because if this was some run of the mill guy, yeah, something like this would happen, and then you'd have to get a lawyer, a good one, and they could maybe work things out for you. In fact, in a lot of cases, they will, because you just the weight of evidence isn't. That somewhere between him getting cuffed, taken to the station, processed, that some supervisor didn't come in and say, whoa, 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 whoa. Everyone stop. Let's take a breath. Calm down. All right. There was a misunderstanding. Let's let everyone go on there. With how notable he is at the PGA Championship, I'm shocked this didn't happen. But granted, this is the same police department that executed an innocent woman serving a search warrant on a road home. So, and they tried to cover that up. Yeah, so take your soap there. So this is just bizarre that you've taken something that should have been a simple misunderstanding, you got an overreaction, and that we're now almost a week after it happened and they haven't dropped the charge. To me is shocking. I think that's where it's going. And I think if it needs to get to this point, you're going to get a call from the governor, not publicly, but he's going to say, hey, I'm just going to pardon him for this, right? So why don't you just make this go away? Because it's not good PR. He's clearly not a threat to society or something. But,
right.
Yeah, just a truly bizarre incident, and it really did ruin his tournament. I know he played well that day, but he said it, and I figured this would be the case. That he hadn't processed what had happened yet. You know, he's not like if this happened to me, if I were a top level golfer, I would know this is never going to stick. I don't give a shit. But that's not who Scottie Scheffler is. And when you're charged with a felony, it's only natural for that to screw with your head. I mean, that's a serious charge. Now, it's actually interesting. What's going to happen with him traveling out of the country if he has a pending felony charge? That I actually have to look into that a little bit. That could be interesting. But yeah, look. Apparently, the Louisville Metro Police Department has announced a press conference tomorrow where they claim that, of course, the officer did not have his body camera turned on, which he was supposed to have in the aftermath of the Breonna Taylor killing.
That's a good. I noticed that too. Like, what was up with that? Like, that's supposed to be always on. What was that?
They shut them off all the time. Dave.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Trust me, I've seen my fair share of cases. Where's the body cam footage? Oh, it didn't work. Oh, really? But yeah, so apparently there is some alternate video angle, but they haven't really said, and I haven't seen anything linked or leaked, I should say, about what this will show. So It wouldn't shock me if tomorrow that they come out and they say, oh, well, you know, we got access to this alternate video feed and we're going to drop the charges. So hopefully that's what happens, because this is just kind of ridiculous and it should go away.
I completely agree, Mike. That's very, very well summarized. By the way, thank you so much. It's actually kind of a nice asset to have your law experience in the mix for this. Like, that's actually pretty cool. We'll go to Andy for his thoughts too, but really quick, I'm just saying hello to Crickster, one of our friends from Twitch. Nice to see you, my friend. Hope you're well. Crickster adds, if you drive towards a police vehicle in an aggressive manner in California, you get attempted assault with a deadly weapon. Yeah, it's wild how they stack the cards in these scenarios. But doing well. Hope you're doing well too. Andy, let's get your thoughts on this entire brouhaha. I mean, there's obviously a lot to unpack, Andy, so feel free to get into all the scenarios.
Yeah, so on not to sound like Mike, but I was in Vegas last week for a couple nights and got home really late Thursday night, like, you know, last plane to Seattle, so got home like 1:30 in the morning or whatever. So Friday morning, slept in as well as I could because I'm an old man and don't really sleep in. But so I'm waking up and I see all these texts like LOL Scheffler, LOL Scheffler, LOL Hibbert, like this Scheffler stuff is crazy. And so I'm like, what's going on? Is he like on pace to shoot like a 58 or whatever? And so just Google Scheffler and I saw the article, but I didn't read the article, you know, lazy, tired. I skimmed the article. So at first glance, I thought he had been in the slammer since like the end of the first round. I didn't read it carefully enough. And then lo and behold, I actually did read the article and paid attention and realized that everything happened on the way to the golf course for the second round. And, you know, Mike already kind of hit all the salient points, like it's a starting pitcher's wet dream, like that ended in a bad nightmare for him because obviously the cop was wrong. But do as I say, not as I do. And if you want to subscribe to the theory that policemen are always right and do 10 to 2, 10 to 2, and yes, officer, I'm sorry, officer, like that didn't happen. Now you could also, for full objectivity, you know, it's like overzealous mall security, high testosterone, low self-esteem bully cop versus entitled country club golfer. Yeah, you can play that angle too, and maybe that brewed into what happened. But you know, when all said and done, like it was just something that did not need to happen. A mountain out of a molehill, and the cop ultimately looks like a tremendous ass clown, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the Louisville Police Department. It basically was a omnipresent black cloud on the tournament for the rest of the weekend. More importantly, for Scottie Scheffler, as you guys alluded to it, he ran out of gas on Saturday. And you can't really play the if, shoulda, woulda, coulda game, but for the sake of the podcast, we will. If he didn't run out of gas on Saturday, you know how he rebounded on Sunday. So he was right there. If he didn't run out of gas on Saturday, we could have even had a little more juice on Sunday. So it's just a terrible job out of the Louisville department, specifically that the cop, he says he doesn't know who Scottie Scheffler is, but yeah, I mean, you couldn't be a bigger fool. And that's a win for the people that don't think cops are these demigods. So soak.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and absolutely, Andy. I mean, it's just such an unfortunate situation, and as you said, so for someone that's easy for me to root for. I mean, not everybody will root for Scottie, of course, but I think he's been having a great last couple of years. It's just this is just the worst thing that could happen. This scenario, it doesn't matter who the golfer is, but that's particularly rough when it's the number one in the world. So thank you for addressing that, everybody, and and now we'll cover the rest of the tournament. But as you said, that really was the underlying theme throughout the weekend. And it's too bad because as we were talking, I just mentioned at the top, there was a lot of great golf on this weekend, and it was punctuated by the ending. I mean, the final round was awesome. Xander Schauffele held off Bryson DeChambeau towards the end, and it was wild stuff. I mean, Xander finally wins the big one. This is a big deal. Some golfers, you're going to have that sticking with you for a long time. We saw it with Sergio Garcia. We saw it with Phil Mickelson. People back in the day. I mean, obviously guys like Greg Norman. If you go back further, this has always been a thing. There's certain golfers, can they get over the hump? They keep missing it here and there. Xander gets it done, and he started strong. And, he leveled off, but I do think he got some critical shots when it mattered. So let's go back to Mike and let's get your thoughts on the victor of the 2024 PGA Championship and all the things that surrounded his journey. Hold on a second, see if Mike's on mic. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, sorry, Dave. My Zoom's being a little bit slow.
Oh, no worries. Back to you. Uh-oh. Did Mike freeze? We might have a gym scenario here, folks. Yeah, Mike, I think you're frozen. Yeah, okay. So hold on there. Yeah.
Looks good though, at least.
It does look good, yeah. Especially the backdrop. It's a beautiful backdrop. Yeah. But I mean, I guess it's not a huge surprise that Xander would win a major. I mean, he's too good. I just feel like it was him, and then Andy. While Mike tries to reestablish connection, would you say that Hovland might be be one of among the next few people to get a big championship? I don't remember if Hovland even has one at this point, but certainly he's playing so well. I feel like he's in position to be in position. Who could be
in position to be in position is right, and he's close.
Yeah,
he's close, and I'm sure we'll have a segment where we talk about some of these other golfers. But yeah, Viktor. One more time, Viktor. I mean, he was close last year in the very same tournament, and obviously a different venue. When Koepka won, Hovland had trouble in that bunker on 18. And again, this year at Valhalla, Hovland was right there. He had a birdie putt on 18. Yeah, he just came up a little short, but he's close. His form was dreadful coming into this tournament, which is, golf is an unpredictable game. But yeah, Hovland will be fine. He's he's gonna the major. He'll have a major when all said and done. It's a good crop. We can talk about some of these other golfers at some point too, but Morikawa. How do you evaluate Morikawa's year so far? Because he was like right there in the Masters, and his putting stroke failed him on the final round at Augusta, and he was right there at Valhalla, and his putting stroke got him nothing in the final round at the PGA. But he's got top fives in the first two majors of the year. He already has two majors to his name, so it's if I had to be objective, I say Morikawa's had a great season. And 95% of the field would love to trade places with Morikawa, but he can also say to himself, man, I've been close for the first two majors of the year. All I needed was a couple putts to roll in for me, and I'd be holding some trophies.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of near misses for Morikawa, but give it to him for the overall performance this year. It's been great stuff. Let's go back to Mike for a sec. Mike, are you back with us?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll pivot back to Xander's performance. I mean, it was great to see. He had a really great first round, and then he held on to it throughout the weekend. So let's get your thoughts on the winner.
Yeah, it was a tournament where you were going to have to go low and keep going low, right? So let's circle back to last week at the Wells Fargo where he actually has at one point a 3-stroke lead over Rory McIlroy in the final round on the front nine. And then he sort of stalls out a little bit. Rory goes like 8 under through 8 holes, and it's a runaway win. And it's yet another tournament that we're talking about where, Schauffele had been in the mix, but wasn't able to get it done. And that sort of mirrors the career he's had in major championships so far, where if you pull up his chart, since 2018, except for 1 year, he's had multiple top 10s in majors every single season. So he's been right there. He's been in the mix a million times. I think he had a couple seconds already going into this. He had a second at the Players' Championship and a second at Quail Hollow. What's this stuff? I'm sorry. Using my freaking law school laptop, which even though I used it for literally no nefarious purposes, is now like the slowest laptop in there. Whatever. Getting back to Xander Schauffele, I don't understand it. Yeah. He showed a lot of moxie in that final round. If you looked at his round Saturday, he was criticized, and I think rightfully so, for as it got later on, he started to slow down a little bit. He overthought things. What was it, 16 or something, where he blew the iron way over the green. It coughed up like a multiple shot lead that he had, or cut into it a little bit. But, he had to show some guts going down the stretch here. He messed up a little bit on 10, where trying to hit that hybrid out of the bunker really didn't make sense. I don't know why he tried to do that, but after that, he steadied himself. He had a tricky lie. He was able to make a clutch up and down, and then 18 from where he was after his first shot, a very ball way above his feet. To be able to advance that shot down and then get the up and down for birdie, that showed a lot of moxie. So it seems like he was able to, unlike many players that just seem to, they get tight a few times, they always stay tight. He was able to battle through it, make the clutch birdie at 18 to win. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I think we all expected, even though he had struggles, we all expected that Xander Schauffele was going to win a major eventually. He had performed too well. He is too talented that the chips are going to fall his way one of these years. I think it may have helped him a little bit that his playing partner Morikawa did not, put so much pressure on him. The pressure was really coming from behind with DeChambeau and Hovland. When I was able to log back on, I heard Andy discussing Morikawa. Yeah, it's interesting that he's had now two like real legitimate chances to win majors this year, and both Sundays he's fallen flat. But I'm not ready to say like, okay, that's disappointing yet, because yes, he's got the two major championships, but he really hasn't done anything since those two major championships. So just to, see him back in the mix, contending again, I think he sort of needed to get back to that stage before he could possibly break through for a third one. I mean, he breaks through for a third one in the next couple of years. That's it's kind of on a crazy trajectory, even though I would say outside of that, his career has been a little bit, underwhelming for a guy who has multiple majors at his age. And I'll quickly circle back to Viktor Hovland, because this was mentioned in the last podcast that and maybe Viktor Hovland was listening to our last podcast, because he fired the swing coach that he had hired and went back to his old one, which why he ever was trying to change his swing, I don't know. So good move by him. That'll sort of get him back in. I think that'll get him back to his previous form sooner rather than later, which will be good to see. And Bryson DeChambeau. Yeah, he's healthy. He's hitting the ball long. He's sort of turned over this new leaf with his attitude and demeanor. Of course, if you ask me, I would say a lot of that is he probably has a good agent that's saying, hey, if you want to maximize your revenue and your marketability, act like this, because I think we saw enough of who DeChambeau actually was where it's going to take a number of years to convince me that he's changed. But he is a very good player. That's 3 straight, I think, top 6s in majors. So I question how healthy he's ever going to stay. But if he is healthy, he's going to be in the mix, because, I mean, he just has a gear with that driver that really no one else has. So, yeah, exciting tournament, exciting finish. I think the criticism is fair, though, that this really it sort of felt like a fun PGA Tour event more so than a major. That's valid. And if we want to get into it, I don't think Valhalla is ever going to host a major again. One, because it was hosting these majors largely because the PGA of America owned the course. They no longer do. 2, the logistics are apparently not good for getting in and out of that place for whether it's players, spectators, volunteers, whatnot.
Right.
3, it's just not critically all that acclaimed. And then 4, you don't want players getting arrested by overzealous cops on the way to the course.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much going to end it for them. I mean, yeah. Thank you, Mike, for the recap of Xander's performance and other things. That was I think other people had been making the same point about how easy the course was, and I was kind of feeling the same. Like, geez, like -20. I was like, this is a major, or is this a John Deere Classic? I don't really know. So let's go to Andy for your thoughts on Xander, and feel free to offer any other thoughts on the scenarios we've covered so far. Let's see. Do we have Andy? Let's see.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, let's just do a Francesa style rundown of Xander's performance in the majors and how consistent he is in top 10s, top 15s, or whatever. So let's do the Masters first. 2017 didn't play. 2018 tied for 50th. 2019 tied for 2nd. 2020 tied for 17th. 2020-21 tied for 3rd. 2022 missed cut. 2023 tied for 10. 2024 8th place. The Open Championship is actually his worst performing majors. 2019 tied for 41st. 2020 there was none because of COVID. 2021 tied for 26th. 2022 tied for 15th. 2023 tied for 17th. So he hasn't cracked the top 10 yet on the other side of the pond. Maybe this is the year he gets that crack. Then we go to the PGA Championship. 2017, miscut. 2018 tied for 35th. 2019 tied for 3rd. 2020 number 5. 2021 tied for 7th. 2022 tied for 14th. 2023 tied for 10. Obviously, there hasn't been the U.S. Open yet this year, next month. Then we go to the PGA. 2017, miscut. 2018, tied for 35th. 2019, tied 16th. 2020, top 10, tied for 10th. 2021, miscut. 2022, tied for 13th. 2023, tied for 18th. 2024, he won it all. So he is just remarkably consistent, especially at the Masters. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If you include the winning major, that's 13 top 10s in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And 26 opportunities. So what I say, 10 for 26, 5 out. So he's like shooting 38% from 3. It's pretty good. Funhouse can correct my math, but that's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. That's like a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah, definitely.
Making a top 10 in the major. But he had some really close calls. I remember that major, that Masters. I think it was the year that Tiger won. He was right there, but everyone shit their pants when Tiger won. Or no, that might have been the year that Hideki won when Xander shit his pants. Mike, do you remember that one? Was it Hideki?
I think it was
Hideki's.
Yeah, Mike, do you remember?
I think it was. It wasn't the Tiger year, because the Tiger year it was Molinari and Finau and Koepka. I don't think Schauffele was in the mix that year.
I think it was Hideki's major, and Xander. I think he overdrew his shot on 16 and went in the water. So he's been close. We know he's been close, and his caddy was saying that he just had a good feeling that a big win was going to come. And in this day and age, we love to dissect everything because we can consume content and comment on it, in our little vacuum of Twitter and stuff, or even on a text chain, or even on this. And Xander had a penchant for just, I wouldn't say choking on Sundays, but not excelling at the same gear that he was driving Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. He just had a little bit of a neutral feel to him on Sundays. Kind of like Tommy Fleetwood, to be honest. Fleetwood, for whatever reason, kind of has a neutral feel on Sundays. But as his caddy mentioned, like he can get hot. Like there was that one year where he won like a few tournaments in a row. I think the Travelers was one of them. But so yeah, Xander could get on a heater, and so good for him. He's he's not the most exciting golfer in the world to watch, which brings me to my Bryson point. And so I've kind of gone Lou Lang Lou with Bryson, and right now I'm kind of like he hate him or love him, like he's entertaining, or at least he emotes, like I know he kind of caters to the meatheads, but sometimes you got to move the needle somehow. And so stage one, Bryson, when he first came on the field, he was wearing the Kangol hat, or whatever you want to call it, the one Samuel Jackson wears a lot, and he was skinny. He was fresh out of college. They called him the scientist out of SMU, and he was borrowing, literally, the true story because Nance mentioned it, he was borrowing like old Masters, like VHS tapes from Nance to study players and their swings and this, that, and the other. And he was all science, consumed by science, the science of golf, the science. See, I got allergies too, SP. It's real. And then he morphed. Then he changed. He went in that incredible Hulk fascination with just building up the body in thick, THICC, thick Bryson took the stage. And you remember when he won that U.S. Open, he was, the drive or one thing, but what always kind of had me entertained was just how violent his gashes were when he would be hitting those wedges out of the rough. Gashing, hacking it like that Grim Reaper sickle, just gashing it. And just he was pretty chunky, thick, THICC, thick Bryson, chunky boy. And then and now he's like a hybrid. It's like Science Bryson meets thick Bryson. And he's on live. He's he's not controversial. He's like a couple levels below controversial. Granted, he can't help himself. He says some awfully stupid things. I think he tries too hard to come across as affable when he should just be natural. Because you all remember, it wasn't a couple of years ago, he was making news for the rope, yelling at cameraman, the rope in his back. That was the thing that I remember. He got annoyed at the rope by the gallery. So he's a weird dude, and but credit to him, he's had a couple really good majors this year. So it would be foolish not to consider him a contender a couple weeks from now at the U.S. Open for sure. So good for Bryson. He's entertaining at the very least.
He is, definitely. And yeah, just an all around I mean, it's good juice. I will admit. I mean, like him or hate him, I don't particularly care for him, but it's good juice. I got to give it to him. He somehow found his way to be in the mix again, and this is not the only event he's been in the mix in. He's been in the mix in a few, so it's interesting to see this stage of his career. And as you said, he'll probably be in the mix again pretty soon. So, back to Mike. Let's go chat about the rest of the fields. A lot to talk about this year. I mean, there really were some great performances. Shane Lowry's third round was unbelievable. He almost beat the new record for the lowest score in a major, which I guess now you think about it, it was Valhalla. It was playing easy for everybody. I guess it makes sense, but it's still pretty good. Great to see Shane on his game. That was really cool. And so there's a lot to unpack. Let's give it to you for your thoughts on the rest of the field.
Sure. So I'm actually going to keep my video off so I can stand up, and maybe that'll help me breathe a little bit.
Okay, no, for sure. Right on, Mike.
Yeah, so on Shane Lowry, that was actually a little bit surprising because even though he won the team event with Rory, uncharacteristically, he's been really struggling with his putter. Missing putts that, if Andy and I were missing them at that rate, we'd probably be upset with ourselves. But, what can you say? Maybe he's got a little bit more left in the tank. Maybe getting a win, even if it wasn't a team event. Maybe that could spark him a little bit, give him a little bit of confidence. I did see something that, his 62 now is the fifth 62 that we've seen in a major. And, 4 of them are in the last 2 years. So, it kind of goes to what Fred Wrigley was saying at Augusta during his press conference, which is we support the rollback. And if there isn't a rollback, we're headed down the road very soon where, we're going to have to make our course 8,000 yards for it to be a challenge to the players. And, that's sort of what we saw here a little bit with Valhalla, 7,600 yards, not short rough by any means, soft, but they just tore it apart. Now, look, going into this, there was a lot of hype around Rory. I know I put in our group text that I was, after the divorce announcement from his wife, I go Rory by 10, of course, being a reference to what happened in 2014 where he broke up with his then fiancee, Caroline Wozniacki, by text message, then won the Open Championship, the WGC Bridgestone, and the PGA Championship, the summer of Rory. But you know, I remember coming on this program in 2013 after the PGA Championship and ranting and raving about how they all just handed the tournament to Tiger Woods after he had like that exceptional performance at the WGC Bridgestone. I think he shot a 61 in the third round. And it was like, can we see him perform in a major? Can we see him win where he's going to be punished a little bit more for his tee shots, where the errant driving is going to get him in more trouble? And with Rory, it's not even at this course. There's not really anything about this course that would have been particularly more difficult than a PGA Tour stop. But even though I almost feel like everything was going right for him, if you're going to say how does Rory break his major drought, it was probably be, well, he comes in on one of those heaters that he's had in his career, and he's just sort of, drunk on how well he's playing, and it carries him through. Well, he came in to this event like that, and even though he was able to shoot 66 in the first round with his driver being off, like that happened, everyone's like, whoa, well, he's not going to drive it. He's going to drive it better after that, so things look good. But I don't know. He still has this thing where he's just stuck in neutral at these majors. It's hard to explain. There's really no point in time or event that you can look at where you're like, oh yeah, he imploded here and that's what did it. But we're really getting to a point where it's like, in fact, if you ask me now, gun to my head, I would say he's never going to win another major. Just go look at guys that have gone 10 years between majors. I think Gene Sarazen. I think that's it, really. Well, I mean, Tiger Woods, too. But, but that's a different situation. He came back and won one as an older player. But for someone to be in their 20s and win like he did and then have this happen, I think it's only Sarazen. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. So another person to talk about, Jon Rahm. Now, I think the live format has actually helped. So maybe not help them, but it hasn't been as harmful or less than ideal as many of us thought it would be for certain players. Bryson, definitely, I think not having to deal with extensive galleries every week and stuff like that actually probably suits him better. But I think that the way Liv is set up is really thrown off Jon Rahm in that his preferred method of preparation, how often he would like to play, where he would like to play, he just seems to be a complete mess. I would like to see if he could answer honestly, do you regret it? He might be the one player that would be like, yeah, if I could do this over again, I wouldn't do this, because he just seems really, really out of form here. I'm sure he has too much talent not to get used to it. And I'm sure he'll probably start doing better as we get further into the year and he has more reps under his belt. But yeah, the limited time on the course, it doesn't seem to be doing him very well. Who else should we chat about? I mean, Tiger Woods, listen, that's kind of, from what we've seen, that's pretty much what can be expected out of him. He's too beat up physically to be able to do what he needs to do to get himself in a position to, be competitive. I mean, we'll see him like put up, a high swing speed once or twice, but he doesn't get the reps in, and basically every step he takes on the golf course starts to break him down physically. So I mean, look, unless there's advances in medical technology, I shouldn't speculate because we're not privy to what his actual diagnoses are, what he's doing to treat it, what the options are, what the prognosis is. But based on what we're seeing, it looks like his competitive career is done. I know John and I were talking about that last time around, if he'll swallow his ego a little bit and play the senior tour with a cart, because right now, based off what I'm seeing, I don't see what other option he has than to do that, because I don't know how he can walk and be competitive anymore. I just think that ship has sailed. Anyone else particularly stay out? Oh, I'll bring this up because when the PGA was on TNT, he seemed to be a favorite of the coverage. Rich Beam shot a cool 20 over through 2 days. He was dead last after all of the finishing behind all of the club pros. So, I mean, I don't know. I was in Atlantic City Thursday, so I don't think there was anything where ESPN was like, and now let's go out to the fourth hole, and here's Rich Beam putting for bogey. That was so bizarre that TNT would do that. They would just have these random segues to these golfers who like won a PGA in the mid '90s and were just not playing golf besides that tournament. In a way, I kind of miss it, even if it's just for the absurdity. It's like, well, yeah, here we go again. It'd be a fun drinking game to play too. We can go back and have the TNT coverage.
Oh man.
Anyone else I should think of here? Oh, Mr. Block did not make the cut, and you want to talk about someone taking a nice story and just kind of rubbing in everyone's face that they're sick of him. I would study Mr. Block here because, look, finishing top 10, getting back into the PGA Championship, making the hole-in-one, playing alongside Rory. Amazing to see. But then he comes out like a couple weeks later and he was like, if I could drive the ball like him, I would be as good as him. It's like, no, you wouldn't.
I still remember this, yeah.
Down there. So he missed the cut, but yeah, anyone else? Wyndham Clark. I know John and I were both pretty high on him, but he did nothing this week. I wonder if he's battling an injury. Ludwig Oberg also did nothing this week, but he had withdrawn, I think, from Wells Fargo with an injury, so that wasn't entirely surprising. I thought Cam Young could have done something here, and he didn't. So I guess those guys were a little bit disappointing. But yeah, there were a lot of strong performances that we saw, and then a couple guys that you thought this course would set up very well for. Wyndham Clark, Cam Young, who really didn't do much. So I guess that's sort of the nature of golf, right? The guys who are they're players that have more talent than other guys, but it's really about sometimes you just show up and you don't have it, or you show up and you do have it. So good example of that this past week.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm a little bummed about Clark. I mean, I've seen Clark play so well throughout the year. I was hoping for more from him too. Let's go to Andy. Let's get your thoughts on other people in the field. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'll just let me just go down this leaderboard and just chime in here and there. Yeah, Justin Rose kind of turned back the clock a little bit. Justin Thomas, I'm not a big fan of Justin Thomas, but fair play to him. He cracked the top 10, played very well. I was a little disappointed in Bobby McIntyre in his last round because although I don't have the data in front of me, a long time ago, or especially when the PGA was played in August, you had a lot of I wouldn't say journeymen, but random people could win this tournament. Back when it was on TNT, the Rich Beam syndrome. And Bobby Mack isn't like a journeyman because he's too young to be a journeyman, and he, people like Tommy might not have heard of him, but those that pay attention know who Bobby McIntyre is. I mean, he was only on the Ryder Cup, for crying out loud. So pay attention, and you know who Bobby McIntyre is. He's the one that almost won the Irish Open last year. Nope, Scottish Open. Funhouse me. When Rory had that amazing shot, even though his shirt was very ugly. But anyway, McIntyre, I put some money on him going into the final round, 47-1. But he was a neutral on Sunday. But the future's bright for him. So good job most of the time for Bobby Mack. Let's see. Gala, I think he's going to be a permanent fixture in top 10, top 20 leaderboards. I think the pressure of late tee time on the Sunday of a major might have gotten to him. I don't know the mechanics of golf very well, but feels like he's got a weird kind of swing, especially with his like chipping game. He's almost like he uses his wrists a lot for the chips. I don't know. So maybe that's the type of swing that might crumble out of pressure. Someone like Nick Faldo would have to break that down for me. But he's fun to watch. You know, I think a major is in his name in the works down the road. But he's fun to watch. So good job by Sahith. Let's see. Koepka, Saturday's round killed him. Rory backdoored his way into top 15. Tom Kim played okay. The Live guys did not really have a good weekend. Bryson DeChambeau notwithstanding. DJ surprisingly made the cut. I saw one tweet which made me laugh. Like, DJ's trying everything he can in his power to not play a 72-hole event in his life again, but he made the cut. So he actually had a pretty good Sunday too. But tied for 43rd. Expect more out of Big D back in the day. Let's see some of the disappointments. Cantlay, he didn't show you much. Fatty Reed didn't show you much. Ricky Tiki Talk, who cares about him? Yeah, Cam Young. I don't have the stats in front of me either, but for as good as his ball striking is, he just seems to miss a large number of 5 to 8 foot putts, where a lot of his contemporaries seem to make. So he's got to work on that flat stick. But he's just a baby. I think he's only like 26 years old, so he's got a lot of golf in front of him. Cam Smith, definitely a disappointment. Tied for 63rd. You expect more out of him. I'm not sure how Luke Donald got invited to play, but he played somehow. Alejandro Tosti, now he's kind of like a in the real, like, not even the pay attention crowd, like the pay attention, I'm better than you crowd knows Alejandro Tosti, because he does these weird things, especially on the Corn Ferry Tour. He got a temper, but I guess on Saturday he was literally like sitting on his ass, like, while Rory and like I forget Doug Gim were still putting out, which that doesn't really bother me. I sit down on the golf course, but like literally, like, his ass was on the grass. He wasn't sitting on the bench. He was just like, and that's not what you really see. Like, pros don't really do that. Like, he was just like sitting on the grass while waiting for his playing partners to put out, which was kind of strange. But he's a hothead, Alejandro Tosti. And let's see. Yeah, surprisingly, Matt Fitzpatrick missed the cut. Yeah, you guys mentioned Ramalama Ding Dong. He missed the cut. He's lost his edge. Maybe, I don't know. Ram needs to be playing bigger tournaments, in my opinion. He still got it, though. People were high on Jake Knapp. He missed the cut. Sung J M, he's usually pretty steady. He missed the cut. Adam Scott missed the cut. It's gonna be funny because Adam Scott, I think he's got the record right now of like consecutive majors played, which is remarkable. I'm not sure how Francesco Molinari got an invite to play this, but he was in there. He missed the cut. Siwoo missed the cut. Jimmy Walker gets to play because he won the event many years ago. He missed the cut. We don't even have to talk about Tiger. Now we're getting deep into the depths of the bottom of the barrel here. Rich B missed the cut. So yeah, that's my little rundown of the rest of the field and the notables.
Pretty good. Yeah, thanks for covering all that, Andy. That's a very nice recap. So we will segue now to course and broadcast thoughts. I don't have anything to say about the broadcast. Like, I just genuinely have no opinion about it. So, but the course is definitely, a lot of history behind it. I mean, obviously it's not to be completely invalidated, but it was definitely one to be had, and it seemed like everybody was having good scores during the entire weekend. So let's go back to Mike. Get some more thoughts on Valhalla, and you've already mentioned a lot about it. So I'd love to hear any additional scenarios there, and then we can talk about the broadcast if you're into that, if you're up for that sort of thing.
Well, honestly, Dave, I really don't have a lot to say about the broadcast this year. I was sort of I was in Atlantic City the first day for a convention. Second day, I was at work. I mean, Saturday, I actually played golf. I was following along on my phone and stuff. But, I mean, of course, Sunday, I sat down to make sure I watched everything. But, so not really anything to say on the broadcast. I mean, really, the interesting stuff was, on Golf Channel afterwards, they would have Johnson Wagner trying to recreate some of the shots, and I know that he got the chipping yips trying to recreate someone's chip and was just sculling chips all over the place. So yeah, I guess I mean honestly, he does a good job there. He has a future as a broadcaster. He's pretty good, but see that his skills have deteriorated a little bit. On to Valhalla. I'll just add a little bit about it. Look, I remember when I was doing writing for Bleacher Report, I actually went through like every tournament, every regular PGA tour event for like 3 years. And I tracked like what the cumulative like score, either what the cumulative score was or what the winning score was, probably what the winning score was. And basically I found that the biggest predictor of how hard a course is going to play or how hard an event will be is not necessarily the course, it's really the weather. That's the great equalizer. The course was not in a position really to defend itself with how soft it was. Now, that being said, I did see something that I thought was very interesting from the people at the Fried Egg, which is, they're the social media channel and newsletter that they cover golf with sort of a focus on golf architecture. And their theory is that with modern equipment, modern swings, how far the ball goes and how far courses are, that the idea that you can just make a course long and kind of narrow with rough is not really going to be a challenge to the modern player, because the strategy and stuff now is so dialed in that no one takes on risky pins, no one flirts with the trouble. And they were saying that the problem with Valhalla is really that the greens aren't severe enough. So what you do is you just play away from the trouble, and it's sort of, you're not going to get bit in the ass. I mean, we kind of saw that on 6 a lot, which is that hole that it turns like 90 degrees. You like drive your ball up and there's a creek and you're basically forced in a long shot, but everyone was laying up, or basically everyone was just aiming right at the green and then dealing with it from there. You saw it on 13 a lot, that Island Green par 4, which Toasty drove on Sunday, which was crazy to watch, where they would put the pin on like a corner of the green and to try to tempt the player to go for it. But, no one took the bait except for Rory McIlroy, who, of course, hit it in the water because his wedge game is atrocious. So, yeah, I do think they're onto something with that with the exception of certain areas where you know that the course is going to be firm, that if you don't have an interesting green complex, which can sort of make a quote-unquote safe shot difficult, like sort of like Augusta National. If you hit the safe shot in the green, then all of a sudden you have like this downhill sloping putt, and you can get in a lot of trouble trying to take care of that. I do think they're onto something there. So, yeah, and like I said, I don't think we're going to be seeing another major at Valhalla for a number of reasons. I mean, really the big one being that the PGA no longer owns that course.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well said, Mike. I do appreciate your thoughts on all the scenarios there. So let's go to Andy. Anything you'd like to add as far as the course or the broadcasting?
Yeah, actually, I don't have a ton to offer on the broadcast is I watched a lot, but I had the sound like half on. You know, I was watching some other sports as well and listening to some podcasts. And you know, I like Nance. I like Immelman. You know, Ian Baker Finch is annoying, and you know where we all stand on Dottie. She's just condescending. She's Doris Burke. She's Doris Burke of the PGA. Doris Burke is the Dottie Pepper of the NBA. It's just they're condescending, they're blind, and they're just like their tone of their voice is like "told you so." Like, oh, they better watch out. They better watch out. And this ball better do this, and then the ball like it's a perfectly fine shot. Like, open your eyes, Dottie. But as for the course, like, you know, they couldn't control how much rain they were gonna get, and like, yeah, I'm not smart enough to properly justify the low scores, but that would be more for like John and Mike and like the no laying up guys because they actually know what they're talking about. But like just by watching the golf, like there wasn't a ton of like there not enough like penalization for like shots that were offline, and like the rough didn't look very long. The greens didn't seem to, you know, like they weren't half baked. You know how like now St. Andrews, that's you might see a British Open or you might see an Open at St. Andrews have a final score of -20 to -22 because that course is old as hell and it's wide open, and if there's no wind, the course has no defense. Like St. Andrews is St. Andrews when there's wind. If there's no wind, St. Andrews is you know, it's for a pro in 2024. It is a day at the beach. So yeah, Valhalla might have just kind of outgrown its teeth, if that makes sense. And it's not 1995 anymore. It's not 2008 anymore when they had the Ryder Cup. But I mean, it's a historic course. It's a cute course, but yeah, it might be time to get it out of the rotation. I will say, like, I think I am not a fan of these majors being so compressed. Like we talked about it when it happened. Like I get why they did it, but like it's not even Memorial Day, and Nance is done calling his majors. It's not my world, but what I would have done is like move. I like the players back in March. Keep the players back in March. You got the Masters at Augusta in April, and then you can use the rest of April and May to, you know, get those signature events baked in May. You're generating juice with these signature events in May. You know, Quail Hollow, you know, this event in Texas could be a signature event. Just bake these events that take place in May, have some signature events in May. Then June, your US Open, July, the Open, and then bring the PGA Championship back to August. Now everyone's like, no, 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 because now you got your FedEx Championship, FedEx Cup, whatever you want to call it, buried with the NFL. While that is true, it's a money grab. Whether you have the money grab in August or the money grab in September, that event is really going to cater to like this panel here and checker and gamblers. Like we're still going to find a way to watch both the NFL and the FedEx tournaments in September. And you know what you could also do is like they could do the tournaments Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then you could get buried in college football. So be it. Like you could get buried with college football, get buried in the NFL, or play them in August. Like, but I don't know. I don't like it. And they've had Saturday finish. They have Saturday finishes at the Farmers Championship in San Diego, so it doesn't interfere with NFL playoffs. Like, why don't they could do that for the FedEx race? I don't know. Obviously, they're not going to move it back to September, but I liked having the PGA Championship in August.
I did too. I think we first guessed this for sure because I know that all three of us were kind of getting into this. John, I'm sure, made similar points, and I definitely felt that for the simple reason that this gap you have in August now, it's like, man, it's like no major in August is weird. Like, there's no rhythm to that. It's like you have like all of this happening within a month and a half, and then you've got like nothing between the U.S. Open and the FedEx. And realistically, the FedEx is nice to have, but it's not on the same level as a golf major. It's strange to. Oh, then the other half of that, and I think everyone agrees here, but having that in the middle of the NBA and NHL playoffs is weird, right? Like, you got Stanley Cup stuff going on, you got NBA, and you have this, and it's like you'll get by, you'll watch it, you'll follow it, but I feel like we collectively would prefer not to have like at all at the same time because that's a lot to keep track of. And so, Mike, I mean, we can revisit this too, Mike. Like, do you feel like this is working out for the parties involved? Is this something you would rather they revert this back to August on some level? Or is there another way you'd restructure this so that it wouldn't be so crazy?
Well, I mean, I don't have access to the PGA of America's financials, and that's honestly how they would probably answer that for you if they could do it honestly, if it's working out for them or not. I know I had said last year or the year before that I would go into some sort of rotation, which I said, okay, they'll never do that, but I think that would make the most sense. Honestly, now, what I would do is I would move the PGA back to August with the exception of the Olympic years. In the Olympic years, play it in May. That'll let you mix in like Kiawah Island and wherever they'd want to go that's more like really a warm weather place where it's going to be 95 degrees in August. I mean, you could play it at Kiawah in August. They did, and everything was fine. But that's what I would do is everything Andy said is dead on. There's so many other things going on right now, with the exception of being outside of the South. Golf season has really just started for us. I mean, I've played 4 times, which I can't remember playing more than 4 times before Memorial Day, but it's like it's so odd that you're in the second week of July, basically, or second or third week of July, and it's like, oh, the major championship season is over. It's like, no, for me, it's like, okay, that's really when. All right, I'm going out every weekend and I'm playing golf in, July and August. Yeah, and then in contrast to having so many things going on right now, what's really going on in August? You got you're paying attention to the MLB scenarios as they line up for, who's in position to do what. NFL training camps are starting. You're starting to get excited about that. You're looking forward to, week 1 of college football and doing your previews, but you don't actually have, live action other than baseball, which is always there. So it sort of makes sense to have, the big event in August. So I know that Andy's right. I know that creates problems with the FedEx Cup, but let's be honest. They've done a lot of dumb things with the FedEx Cup to begin with to offset the advantage that they get by not going up against football. Like, how do you move? I mean, I know why. It's because FedEx sponsors it. How the hell do you get rid of the event in the New York metro area? For the FedEx, it's literally the biggest population center in the country. They went around to really good courses. A couple of the friends that I went to the PGA Championship with were even talking about, and they're not even golf guys, but they, even though we were in a soaking rain, they enjoyed it enough. They were like, we'd want to do that again. But it's like the closest one that we see is the Travelers in Connecticut. I'm like, yeah, listen, I would totally be willing to go to that. The thing is, I'm away that weekend. So just, they got rid of that event, which makes no sense. Yeah, so I don't know. I think if they found a way to be a little bit creative with it, the problem is you got college football too. It would take a little creativity, but I do think that, and maybe this will happen when there is a merger, which, who knows? There's a lot of moving pieces there. We have resignation. I guess I'll segue into that. I'll just quickly segue into PGA Championship 2, what the future of golf is going to hold. It looked like there was momentum towards a merger, but the PGA Tour players were pissed off enough that they were able to reformat the board where they hold more seats than the suits. Now, I don't know if the PGA Tour players, and of course they were able to make deals with other private equity firms to invest. So they think that they have enough money to hold off LIV for a little bit. I don't know if they're really necessarily dead set against having a merger with LIV or PIF. It wouldn't really be with LIV, it would be with PIF, and then they figure out a way to work things out. I almost wonder if they're trying to force Monahan out, and then they're going to go from there. Because if I were a PGA Tour player, I'd want Monahan the hell out of there. So I think maybe that's what's going on. I hope that's what's going on. I took sort of I don't like the people behind LIV, but if it's a close event, of course I'll turn it on. It's golf. But I do recognize at this point that it's probably okay. They're going to sink so much money into this that it's almost you have to deal with them. So we have a lot of things in play, and maybe when this all shakes out, the PGA will then realize, okay, under the way we're going to work things, we'll move back to August. I hope that happens, except for the Olympic years. I think that would sort of be the happy way to do things.
That's an amazing weave there getting into the PGA LIV situation too. That's great stuff, Mike. Thanks for bringing all that up. I saw multiple resignations from the PGA Tour Policy Board in the last few weeks. So yeah, there's a lot of turmoil in that behind the scenes here at the PGA Tour. So back to Andy. Let's get anything you want to add as far as the future of golf and things like that.
I don't have a ton to speculate on, but I do agree with Mike's point 100%. Like, Monahan's got to go. He didn't have a ton of goodwill to begin with, and he's just he's a clown in the suit. So I want to see more tournaments where all the best players in the world are playing each other. Whether it's here or in Singapore or Guam, wherever it is, make it happen. Make it happen now.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's really well said on by both of you, actually. It doesn't look like John's going to be making it tonight, but I know John has been pretty busy at work, so no worries there. Hopefully we'll have John back for the next spot when it rolls around. We do have a few events coming up. I think the Charles Schwab is the next event. I don't really know if there's a lot of juice in the next few weeks to really get into, Mike, but if you have anything you want to get into as far as the upcoming schedule, feel free to break that all down for us.
Sure. So I'm not familiar with what the LIV schedule is between now and the U.S. Open. Maybe Andy knows, but PGA Tour actually has a pretty good stretch coming up here. We have Colonial this week, which is, of course, a lot of history behind there. Always seems to produce an exciting event. A little twist this year, they completely restored the course. Trying to sort of mimic how it looked in 1941 when it hosted the U.S. Open. So you're going to see a brand new course this week. So some of the stuff I had seen about it over the last couple days, it looks pretty good. It looks nice. So yeah, check that out. We have the RBC Canadian Open, which has produced a ton of spectacular finishes over the last few years. So that should be good. Don't know how many players will necessarily play in that because of where it is on the schedule. Then the week before the U.S. Open, we have the Memorial, which is always a tough test of golf. Jack's Place, U.S. Open at Pinehurst. Then we have the Travelers Championship, which is also a signature event. So two signature events buttressing a major championship. So we actually, between now and towards the end of June, we actually do have a good amount to look forward to.
Not too bad, not too bad. Good to know. Good to know. I love it. I love it. And so let's go to Andy. Anything you're looking forward to on that upcoming schedule specifically?
Yeah, this is the Colonial, the Hogan's Alley, whatever you want to call it. It's got a lot of history, as Mike mentioned, and Nance will be there, and then the to answer your question, Live has an event in Houston, June 7th through 9th at the Golf Club of Houston. That is the golf course that's right next to Houston Bush International Airport, where they had the Shell Houston Open for many, many years. Great track. People love playing there because the greens reminded them of Augusta. That was a tournament that was played the week before Augusta, and it always had a pretty good field because guys would play there to get a kind of a mockumentary feel of the Augusta greens. But since then, it's obviously off the schedule. The City of Houston now has a different tournament on a different course, a different time of year. But the Golf Club of Houston, that is where Liv will be playing in the beginning of June. The Memorial Tournament is always a fun tournament. It does get marred traditionally because of thunderstorms and late tee times or pushed up tee times, and Jack's Place with the milkshakes. But that's a great event. And looking forward to Pinehurst, obviously, Father's Day weekend. So, we are in the meat and potatoes portion of golf.
Yeah, we are indeed. And with that, I think, as Mike was alluding to, it's setting up for a pretty cool summer of events to watch and summer of golf to play. So we'll give it to each of you for final thoughts. And Mike, I'll start with you.
Not much to say, really. Just thank you for having me on, Dave.
Absolutely.
Again, I apologize for sounding the way I do, but I was able to make it through this okay, even if I was blowing my nose between every spiel that I gave. Andy, it was good talking to you. It's been a while since you've been on here with us, so good hearing your insight. Best of luck with your golf game and your wagers. May luck be on your side. So, that's it. And like we said, we have a lot of good golf to watch. So Rangers just lost 3-0, so hopefully that continues. So Rangers getting knocked out, good golf. I will be a happy guy as we turn the calendar towards June.
Florida looks like the better team, doesn't it? Though, like it just seems like they've. I feel like going in. I shouldn't. Now I can see. Now I may have blown it, but. I love it, Mike. I love it. I don't want to mush it. I'm sorry. I may have already done it. I apologize. But let's go to Andy and get your final thoughts.
Yeah, good to speak to both of you, and hope you all have. I know you guys like to make the occasional wager, so good luck with all that.
Thanks.
Mike. Hopefully, you're getting out on the golf course as much as you can this summer as well. Hopefully, we can do some more of these podcasts for the upcoming majors. And don't have as much anti-juice for the Rangers as Mike, obviously. I did bet on Florida, though. I bet on Florida, but I'm on a game-to-game basis with the playoffs. Florida, though, they definitely looked the part. I mean, they bullied the Bruins. I know in 6 games, it probably could have even been 5 games, but Florida's got some unfinished business from last year, and they're just a pretty complete team. Not that I'm like Mike with the hockey. I Francesa, not this Mike, but I gamble on it. I watch from afar, but a Dallas, Florida, Stanley Cup, that's not going to be most hockey Stanley Cups aren't like ratings bonanzas. It's more of a pay attention crowd. But Dallas is fun to watch. Florida's fun to watch. And like I said, I don't hate the Rangers, but I do hate Brian Monzo. So when the Rangers do lose, at least there's that. At least there's that. So we got NBA, NHL, baseball starting to blossom as we approach Memorial Day weekend. So it's a good time of the year. Weather's getting better everywhere across the country. So yeah, all good things. All good things.
100%. Yeah. And I like the Rangers too, but it's fun to see where this ends up. It probably will end up being a pretty good series though. So great start for Florida, of course. Thanks everybody. And Andy, great to see you again too. And thank you, Mike. And no worries as far as the tech stuff. And I do hope you're all feeling better too. I know the allergies are getting to everybody, so feel better too. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Andy. Have a good rest of your week.
Take care, guys.
See you guys.
You bet. Andy and Mike, good to see them again. Sending our best to John too. Hopefully John's hanging in there as well. That's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. And just a reminder that we will be back on Twitch for a special birthday spectacular, which includes the second half of the 42 songs from 42 years, where I'm taking songs from each year and singing along to them with karaoke. It's a fun stream, and so we hope you can make it for that. That's over at twitch.tv/Davey's Eating a Sandwich. And if you missed any part of this program tonight, you can catch the replay right here on YouTube. Or if you're listening to the program, if you're listening to the program, you can download the archives of every one of our Sandwich Corner podcasts on your platform of choice for podcasts. So that includes Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music. We're everywhere. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you next time.